I want to express my solidarity with Palestinian people. After decades of oppression against Palestinians, we cannot deny the asymmetry of power and the brutality, from Israeli airstrikes on women and children in Gaza to stun grenades targeting worshippers in Al-Aqsa. Forced displacements, arrests, beatings, and killings are a crime against humanity. People around the world, including Muslims, Christians, and Jews, are calling on leaders to protect Palestinians' human rights. I especially call on for children's safety. A Palestinian child should be sitting in a classroom, not in rubble. World leaders must act immediately.
Malala, in your tweet you say that a Palestinian child should sit in a classroom and not in rubble, and you express solidarity with the Palestinian people. You're right. Palestinian children have the right for education, life, and happiness. But they're not the only children who are part of this equation. There are others, millions of others, who are under continuous threat by Hamas's missiles, barrage after barrage after barrage. They're called Israelis, and they deserve to live as well. You know, Malala, your story is an immense inspiration to me, to Israelis, and to many millions of people around the world. You stood up for the right of innocent Muslim girls and women, for education, for a chance for a better life. And you paid a heavy price for it personally. And we admire you for it, which just augments the immense disappointment as a result of this biased and one-sided position against Israel, not even mentioning the word Israel in your expression for solidarity with what's happening in the Middle East now. You know, Malala, this did not start yesterday, nor did it begin last week or last month. It has been ongoing for years. You know that Hamas's first rocket into Israel was fired over 20 years ago on April 16th, 2001. For over 2 decades, millions of Israelis have been held hostage to Hamas's terrorist regime, to its murderous missiles, that threat, that alarm that gives you a mere few seconds to run for your life. How is that fair, Malala? You're talking about the plight of children, and yet you neglect the Israeli children. You know, Ido Avigal, little 5-year-old boy Ido Avigal, now of blessed memory, was murdered a couple of days ago by a Hamas missile. He was home in the safe room with his mother, who is seriously injured. He lost his life. He was born under the threat and shadow of Hamas's missiles, and so he passed away, murdered, killed by Hamas. Another child, 4.5-year-old Daniel Traegerman, suffered the same fate, murdered by Hamas missiles in 2014. Do they not deserve your compassion, Malala? Sadly, tragically, Ido and Daniel did not live to even see the inside of a classroom. They did not survive Hamas's murderous efforts, and they succumbed to its missiles. Yet, it seems that for you, Malala, they never even existed. You also choose to ignore Hamas's crimes against humanity, Hamas's continuous use of the same children that you purport to support, Palestinian children, as human shields, as Hamas is hiding its missiles behind baby strollers, underneath hospitals and in schools, exposing so many of these children and innocent Gazans themselves to death, turning the entirety of Gaza into a lab of destruction. And for what? To inflict continuous suffering on innocent people? For you know, Malala, that if Hamas puts down their missiles, there will be peace. But if Israel chooses to put down its defenses, it's going to be a massacre. Malala, millions of people around the world expect you to do the right thing. There is still time. It's not too late.